Cool. So let's jump into this. I made a Dustin Poirier video about his Benoit Saint Denis fight, and then I made a Sean Strickland. No, sorry, I made a Paulo Costa video regarding his Robert Whittaker fight in preparation to watch UFC 302. And UFC 302 was actually, to be honest, I didn't really watch many of the fights. I watched some, but the rest I kind of just skimmed through while doing other stuff because I knew they weren't going to be very good. But I was focusing on Paulo Costa versus Sean Strickland and Islam Makhachev versus Dustin Poirier, as everyone was. Um, yeah, I made a video about Paulo Costa thinking that he would actually win his fight against Sean Strickland. Boy, was I wrong. I really was wrong. And I think where I went wrong was that I just didn't take into consideration any of the bodywork that Sean Strickland would do. You know, his teeps are phenomenal. But that was also a bit of a boring fight, and I don't want to talk about it because I was just way off. So let's talk about Islam Makhachev versus Dustin Poirier. I gave Dustin Poirier zero chance, as everyone else did. But props to him because he fooled me. And he fooled a lot of people because he kept on talking all week. Well, pretty much all build up. Any moment that you can consider a build up to this fight, he was talking about the guillotine. And the Gilly Goose Gang that he was talking about has to be one of the cringiest things I've ever heard in my life. But he fooled me, and he fooled a lot of people because he did not go for a single guillotine in this fight, as everyone was telling him to. And because of that, he made this a lot harder for Islam Makhachev than he probably anticipated and a lot of people anticipated. And we're going to jump into it. We're going to see why it was, what happened, anything cool that you can take from it. Okay, fight just started with 30 seconds in. Dustin jabs and boom, Islam hits him with a a left hand, a counter that he can put. He essentially started a combo off of to back Poirier up against the fence and then went for the shot. See here, Dustin jabs, cross counter, and that cross counter is definitely something they worked on. 1000%. You know, Islam's camp knew coming into this that Dustin really only had one way to win, and that's by his boxing. Dustin has pretty good kicks, pretty good offensive wrestling, pretty good defensive wrestling, pretty good jiu-jitsu. But everyone knows his boxing is the best part of his game. That's undoubtable. He is one of, if not the best boxers in the UFC. Everything else is just kind of good, but his boxing is incredible. So, of course, what's the most important punch in boxing? The jab. So, straight away, it's a very good idea from Islam's camp to basically stop Dustin from advancing, from starting combinations by hitting him with a cross counter straight away. Over the jab. See it again. Over the jab. There you go. As he throws it, Islam has already reacted and thrown the counter over the top. A bit like a overhand, but not as crooked. His arm still is pretty straight, like a regular cross. Here you can see Islam as Kimura. Dustin rolls out, but as he rolls out, he gives up his back. And the reason I wanted to just bring this into play is, let's watch it again. The reason I wanted to bring this into play is because pretty much whenever you grapple, really nice back tick. Whenever you grapple, a lot of guys really go for one submission. And if they get the submission, amazing. But if they don't, that's kind of like their whole energy supply kind of burn out. And they don't think about what's next. A submission is a finisher, which of course everyone knows, and it should be a finisher. You should act like every submission you go for is a finisher. Go for the kill. But what if it doesn't happen? What next? You know, it is a good idea to just think in the back of your mind, what if I don't get this? And to be able to flow into other positions, other scenarios, just like Islam did. We talk a lot about the chain wrestling of Khabib, with Makhachev, with Ben Askren is another guy, with Kamaru Usman. But chain grappling in general, not just chain wrestling, but chaining your submissions together, chaining your positions together is also a great idea to start working on. For 1 minute 20 in here, he's had his back for quite a while now, but nothing's really happened until right there. I don't know if you just saw it, but have a look. The whole time, what's the point of a body lock? What's the one submission that's so easy to get, or is most easy to get in a body lock? It's the choke. It's the rear naked choke. You can roll for an armbar as well, but the easiest one to get is, of course, a rear naked choke. And Makhachev keeps on trying to get this. He keeps on trying to roll his arms under, but Poirier is doing a good job of just keeping his arms high and stopping anything from happening until this happens. Islam rolls to his left and Dustin automatically puts his arms to the side. So he's ready to push off the floor and try and explode out of the situation while Islam rolls. But Islam kind of uses it as a fake just to go for the choke again. Look at it one more time. Rolls him to the side, takes the left, and then tries to get the choke again. Dustin just about realizes in time. But that's all that really happens for the first round, to be honest. It's basically just Islam dominating with a body triangle. Okay. Now that was nice by Islam. Let's see it again. Dustin throws a low kick, and again, just like with the cross counter in the first round, as soon as Dustin has thrown it, he hasn't even landed it yet. Let's look again. Look, Dustin has just thrown it. It hasn't even quite landed yet. But Islam has already reacted and has taken the opportunity while Dustin's on one leg to shoot for the takedown. And that kind of plays into Dustin's mind for the rest of the fight, because he maybe throws 3-4 kicks over the span of 2.5 more rounds, which is very, very low. This is a real great game plan by Makhachev's team. What they do is they essentially just limit Poirier to the boxing. And again, Poirier has amazing boxing, so you always have to be on point, and that's why this was such a close fight. But you can't grapple with him because he's Islam Makhachev. You can't kick with him because now you've seen every time you try and kick, he's gonna go for a takedown. What else can you do? You can box, and you can knee, and you can elbow a little bit in the clinch. We'll look at that later. But out in the open, you're very limited to just boxing. Okay, this is one more thing I wanted to look at. Islam's clinch. You'll see it now. Here we go. As soon as they get close enough. So here's one thing about Dustin. They're very close right now. You can't really see it on the camera angle, but this is great game planning by Poirier as well. Being in the face all the time, being in boxing range, also restricts Makhachev's offense. He can't kick because he's too close. But every time, if Makhachev doesn't feel like a takedown is there, but he feels like Poirier is too close, he'll go for a tie clinch. Right, he goes for an over-under here, and then straight to knee. So again, as soon as he's too close, he feels it, throws in the knee. And that's basically just a way of saying to Dustin, like, hey, I won't let you get too close unless it's on my terms. Very nice shot from Islam, head inside. And then look, there's the clinch again. There's the shot. It's on out in the open. Dustin limp legs and straight away again, clinch. Throws an uppercut, but he's looking for those knees. His knee, the knee is really what he's looking for. He threw the uppercut, great, but he wants the knee. Look where they are now. This is what I was talking about before, because this is a good camera angle. Look how close they are together, and that's because of Dustin. Dustin is the one who's currently got the center of the ring. He's got the center of the cage, and they are so close. They can only really box him. If they try to kick, if Dustin tried to kick the inside of Islam's leg, or Islam tried to throw a low leg kick as well, they'd probably end up landing with the high part of the shin or the knee, and that's not really where you want it. You kind of want to hit with the lower end of the shin, because then that way, think of it like a baseball bat. You swing a baseball bat and you try and hit a ball with the part of the bat that's closest to your hand. It doesn't quite feel right, does it? Compared to hitting it just on the end of the bat. If you hit it on the end of the bat, it feels a lot better simply because of the momentum and the swing. Same thing with a low kick. And this is another thing. This is another thing that Islam did a good job at doing, and that was exploiting the problems with Dustin Poirier's guard. Let me show you. Look at how high Dustin's elbow is here. I know the quality isn't great, sorry about that, but you really don't. When it comes to actually blocking punches, it's great, especially with those small gloves, because if you punch the end of someone's elbow and you kind of hit your thumb on it, you've broken a thumb. So it's an incredible guard that it's a boxing guard that he's really created for MMA. It really does save him a lot of damage when he takes shots. But look at how open his hips are. There's literally nothing there to prevent Islam from shooting at the hips. And that's exactly what he does. Boom. And then back against the fence. And again, Islam is in a clinch. But here's how not to use a clinch. So right now, Islam's back is against the fence, which means Dustin can push into him and push him into the fence. You don't really want to be in that situation when you have a clinch. And I kind of figured this out through fighting myself. I remember this one time I was in a fight and I had a tie clinch. I had my elbows tucked in. It was a really nice tie clinch, but my back was against the ring. My back was against the rope of the ring, and my opponent was pushing me into the ring. He was pushing me into the rope, which meant that I really had no weight to push back into him to throw those knees with any actual conviction. And because of that, Dustin is able to get some nice body shots in and an uppercut in as well. Yeah, there you go. So when you're looking to get that tie clinch, try not to do it with your back against the fence, because you don't really have any leverage, any weight to throw into your shots. This was very nice. Okay, so I'm going to explain why I say this is nice. Because you've got a southpaw versus southpaw matchup. Both guys are trying to counter with the right hook, but you'll see, boom, Dustin gets the timing on Makhachev's right hook. And because of that, boom, he's able to get his left hand off before Makhachev gets his right hand off. Just like this. Very nice. Very nice by Poirier. Again, incredible boxer. And then Islam goes into the clinch because he doesn't feel comfortable. Again, anytime Islam doesn't feel comfortable in a certain range, he will change it. If he feels uncomfortable in close, he'll tie up and then push away. Or if he feels uncomfortable out far, he'll tie up, like to get in. And then Dustin does a good job at punching himself out of the clinch. I don't think the punch even landed, but the fact that it could have landed makes Islam want to disconnect. This was nice. Okay. Have a look again. Islam throws a combo into a clinch. Turns Dustin, so his back is against the fence, and then shoots. And goes for a single leg. And from there, he can get the takedown. Very nice by Islam. Have a look at this. Beginning of round 3. Dip by Makhachev. Dip again. It gets Poirier to back up. Now look, all of a sudden, his feet are near that black line, which is essentially meaning that he's closer to the ring, to the cage. His feet are on that black line, essentially meaning that he's close to the cage now. It's a very nice way, without even throwing anything or without even expending a lot of energy, Makhachev has been able to take the center of the cage. Islam gets double unders, pushes Poirier all the way back to the fence again. Let's see that again. Clinch, double unders, push him all the way back against the fence. You know, this is a real, and then can body drag. This fight is a real example of why where you are in the cage and using the fence are so important. Because when a guy tries to take you down, the go-to move is to sprawl. How can you sprawl if there is a solid object that does not move behind you? You can't. So you have no choice but to really just try and muscle your way out with your arms and like getting your base low. It's so much harder than to just sprawl generally. Oh yeah, I forgot to say here, but that headbutt breaks Poirier's nose, which is why they got into that position in the first place. So not cool by Makhachev, but also not his fault. You know, the ref probably should have done something there, but it is what it is. Okay, Islam's got the back. What he does is he gets the hook in, and look at how he breaks. Look how he breaks the base. He gets the hook in. He gets the hook in, and he stretches the body of Poirier. So all he really has is his abdominal muscles keeping him up, and obviously that's not enough to keep two men up at the same time. Okay, quite a lot of time has passed, and now Makhachev feels comfortable taking the mount. Remember in the first round, that's not a very nice sight, is it? Remember in the first round when Makhachev kind of faked the mount take just to go for the neck again? Well, this time he commits to it. So now Dustin's kind of like, do I, don't I? Do I brace to try and explode out of a mount? Or do I hold my neck? Do I keep my arms near my neck so that I don't get choked out? This time, he keeps his arm near his neck, doesn't base, and he's now in mount. But this is another cool thing that happened. Whoop. Very nice reversal. You know, we talked before, we talk quite a lot about how the fence can be used as an offensive weapon for the person who is offensively grappling, but it can be a benefit to the person defensively grappling as well, just like there, you know, it gives you something to push off of. You see now, Dustin is throwing jabs. He's using his jab to back Islam off against the fence. Again, where you are in the ring is so important. I just want to share this as well because this is cool. Islam slips a jab. Lovely, lovely. See that again. Slips the jab, body, head. Hook to the body, hook to the head. Very nice by Makhachev, and gets a clinch again. Round 4, straight away Dustin takes the center and again jabs. Jabs to push Islam back to the fence, but Islam does a good job countering with combos. Cross counter by Makhachev. I'm telling you, these guys really worked on that cross counter because they knew everything in boxing goes off the jab. So if you can stop that jab in its tracks, you kind of stop the guy in general. Hook, hook, very nice. Again, countering in combination by Makhachev. And then clinches. Stuffing the shot by Poirier gives him a little bit of confidence and he decides to move forward with the jab, and Makhachev doesn't feel comfortable, so he clinches. If you don't feel comfortable with the firefight that's going on, it is better to be safe than sorry, in my opinion, and just go and look for the clinch. Because do you want to risk getting knocked out even more than there already is because you're in a fight? You know, to me, it just makes sense. If you don't feel comfortable with the firefight that's going on, for example, Poirier starts backing Makhachev up with the jab, and you know the left hand is coming or the right hook. So, of course, if you're Islam and you don't feel comfortable with that, just clinch and reset. Nice. Again. See, look. Poirier goes forward with like this 1-2, 1-2 that's kind of just used to cover ground, really. Straight away, Islam doesn't feel comfortable. He dips a bit weird, but he gets the overhand. He gets the clinch. And he throws the left hand, and then he comes back with his counter combination. Very nice counter combinations by Islam Makhachev in this fight. We've got Poirier back on the floor again. And the reason I'm not going through the actual breakdown of the grappling, the wrestling particularly, the shots that lead to takedowns for Makhachev, is because they are pretty rinse and repeat. It is basically shoot from the outside, Poirier sprawls, clinch, throw some knees, throw some uppercuts, or push him to the fence, go for the double leg, switch to the single leg, and then lift or turn. But in this instance, Makhachev has the back again, but look at that, can't get the hooks in. He tries to go for the hooks, but Dustin Poirier, he posts and he pushes his hips high in the air, which means that if Makhachev were to put a hook in, he'd just fall off. He'd fall off the top and fall on his head. Keep that in mind, because although as good as it is right now, we're going to come back to it later, because Makhachev does a very good... He makes a very good read. Very nice switch from Poirier. Very nice. And the reason it works, I believe, is just patience and timing. Because I don't believe it's actually that special. He just goes, puts his hands underneath the legs and commits. You know, it's not particularly special, to be honest. I think it just works because he was very patient. You know, there are big moments in this fight where I kind of skip a good minute, 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes, because it's just Makhachev holding Poirier down. And Poirier doesn't really do much. He doesn't really try that hard to get up. He kind of just anti-grapples. He just kind of waits until something happens. In that situation, he did a very good job of just waiting until something happened. Very nice body shots. Very nice body shots. And again, that's because Makhachev tries to get that tie clinch when his back is against the fence and he has no leverage. He has no weight. So Poirier can just push. He can push his head in and use his weight to throw those body shots. I mean, Makhachev threw a knee, but it doesn't really have anything on it. Those body shots were good, though. Boom. Very nice body shot. Poirier has found success with these body shots in the last few rounds. You know, I think if he was looking back at this and being very critical, he could have said to himself that the body shot should have started earlier. He should have started it at the beginning of the fight rather than round 3. But boom, that was very nice. And look, he knows it. Everyone knows it. All right, we've got round 5. Both guys look beaten up. It's like they've been in a fight almost. Who would have guessed it? Straight away, Dustin takes the center of the ring. He's going to jab. See? Jab and then counter combination by Makhachev. That was the story of the boxing in this fight. Jab by Poirier, counter combos by Makhachev. This was an interesting shot by Makhachev because it's pretty labored. It's not that fast. It's not as fast as the ones earlier in the fight. As you could expect, because, you know, they've been fighting for 4 rounds. But because of the blood and the sweat, I bet that definitely helps. Just let Poirier limp leg out. If you want to see a guy who limp legged unbelievably, Jose Aldo. He's probably the best limp legger in MMA, maybe history, because he was just incredible at it. Pushing off the head, pushing off the shoulders or the arm, and then getting enough space until his knee line was out, and then he would turn. Getting a clinch, which they break from. Poirier throws his combo. Look how low Islam's head was there. Very low. Very low. It's very easy to catch him with a knee there. And, you know, if he fights a guy... I think Poirier came out in like a press conference or a post-fight interview saying that his coaches were calling for the knee, but he was nervous that he was going to get taken down off of it. If Makhachev fights a guy who isn't as scared, well, maybe not scared is the right word, but isn't as conscious about getting taken down, Arman Tsarukyan, which is probably who he's going to fight next, that knee is definitely there. Swarming him with a double jab, making him dip, and then throwing the knee, that would be a fight ender. Double jab, boom, left hand. Very nice by Poirier. This is something else you could have done a bit more of, double jabbing. We talked about how Makhachev was countering in combination off of Poirier's jab. But if he double jabbed, that gives you less of an opportunity to actually counter, because if you try and counter one jab, you're just running into the second jab. Do you know what I mean? So double jabs should have been used more. Boom. And here we have the shot that leads to the finish. Very nice. This isn't quite nice, but if I let it continue here, you know, there's a video from Luke Thomas where he's talking to Daniel Cormier about what makes a great takedown in MMA, and well, in general, and DC basically explains that if you take a shot and you run the pipe and you turn the corner, you take a shot and you turn the corner, so you start facing the guy, but you turn his whole body and your whole body to the other side, then that is essentially a great shot. And this is an example of it. Because Makhachev shoots and he turns. And he doesn't quite get it, but he's still chain wrestling. He's still got the leg. And this takedown here, this takedown works. Very nice. You know, if you watch Muay Thai, you'll probably see this quite a lot. You know, guys catching kicks, holding the foot, like pulling them and throwing them off. The reason it works here is because, for starters, I don't know why, but Americans in MMA don't really focus too much on Muay Thai. I really don't know why. They should. But also because Poirier, Islam's got the leg. Poirier, as every other shot in this fight has been, is expecting Islam to push forward, to try and force the double leg, to try and push him back against the fence. He's expecting to go back, but instead he ends up going forward. And then again here, just as we said in one of the previous rounds when Makhachev was trying to get the back and Dustin posted with his hips really high in the air, so Islam couldn't. He would fall off if he tried to get the hooks in and take the back. Islam says, not this time, and he stays at the head. And because Dustin is too busy posting with his arms, he doesn't actually protect his neck. Islam pulls him down, goes for the guillotine, doesn't get it, but now he's just sitting here. I don't really know what Poirier is doing. He should either, I think he's trying to think of a way to get back up because he knows it's round 5 and he's losing. But he should either put his back on the floor and play guard, or just try and bully his way up. Because, you know, you've got 2.5 minutes left of this fight. You've got to try something. But instead he kind of just sits here and gives Islam time to wrap up the dance. Look, what was that? That was 8 seconds? Something like that? He's got the guillotine. Dustin defends. All right, 234. Sitting. 228. That's when Islam finally thinks, you know what, I'm going to go for a das. And then he goes for the das and gets the tap. Great fight. Really great fight. I think both guys came in with good game plans. It really looked bad to begin with for Dustin, but some good corner work and some real heart and grit and determination brought him back into this fight. Islam Makhachev had a great game plan, you know, countering with combinations off of the jab, circling off of the fence. You know, Dustin isn't the best cage cutter. And then, whenever he doesn't feel comfortable, just clinching. Sometimes the clinch worked, sometimes it didn't, but it's better than being in boxing range with Dustin Poirier when he's got momentum on his side. So, really good fight. I enjoyed it. I think the thing to learn from this is that we all know that Dustin Poirier isn't invincible, but you play his game, you're going to lose. I think Conor McGregor found that out, for example. Dan Hooker found that out. Michael Chandler found that out. Justin Gaethje in their first fight found that out. And we also found out that Islam Makhachev isn't invincible. You know, there were moments where you can see if you push him back with a double jab, he doesn't really know what to do. I mean, that's kind of with everyone. If you double jab anyone, they're kind of screwed. But with Islam, you can see double jabs definitely work. His head movement is questionable to say the least. And if you fight a guy who isn't so worried about getting taken down and is willing to throw that knee, if one of those knees lands, he's out. He's out cold. You know, there were two or three situations where that could have happened. And yeah, it was a great fight. I'm looking forward to seeing what Islam Makhachev does next. Props on Poirier on retiring if he wants, but I still think there is some fights out there for him. I think the McGregor quadrilogy would be really cool. I think the Gaethje trilogy would also be really cool. Um, I think he could also go for BMF again because he beat Max twice, and now Max is the BMF holder. Who wouldn't want to see that fight for a third time? I still think there are things out there for him, but you know, he's his own man. He will choose to do what he wants to do. It was a great fight. I really enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed this breakdown. I understand that sometimes my points and my tactics are kind of all over the place, but I am trying my best to like explain a conclusion about why these things worked and why it happened. In this fight, for example, counter combinations by Islam Makhachev were really great. Clinching to essentially suppress the momentum that his opponent has was also great. And then, of course, the regular stuff, the takedowns from the fence, pushing up to the fence, that was also great. Submissions, all great. Safe.